New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And good morning, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for today, August 15th. Oh my God, August is halfway gone already. Which means we're just inching closer and closer and closer to the impending election here in the United States. And I think I have a sense, Z, we are going to see the biggest voter turnout we've ever seen.
Oh yeah. Well, and we're going to have a big turnout, and we're going to have tremendous challenges, right? Because whoever they may be, are going to be chomping at the bit to say where all these voters come from, right? And I think a lot of them will be new voters, so should be able to avert any craziness that's coming up, because they got this right to vote organization that's hammering these state and county and city voting places with tons of letters saying these people are illegal to vote for whatever reason. And so I was just gonna say last day they did a little expose. They were in Texas. The place is a PO box, the office number for this group that's trying to disavow voters.
I want to see the Lincoln Project. Excuse me. I want to see the Lincoln Project do a commercial around Stop the Con, because I think right. The far right and Trump in particular and others are already telling us that the election's rigged.
Right.
And we saw that coming in 2020, but I don't think too many people paid attention to it in 2020. I think the left, I think the Democrats need to start a campaign that highlights how Donald is setting us up for another big con, to claim that this was rigged, to claim that this was stolen. And, maybe we need a counteroffensive, much like the Ukraine went into Russia this week. We need a counteroffensive that says we got to stop Donald before he steals it again, before he tries to get on us again.
And, I think, as we were talking earlier before we got on the show, everybody's saying Kamala has not done any interviews and so forth. And I mean, I don't know if the American public and the media has lost their mind totally, but Vice President has only been in this position 3 weeks. Well, I guess maybe 4 weeks now. The vice president has only been on board definitely a week and a half, 2 weeks maybe.
Yep.
Right. So the Democratic convention is Monday. Why would I want to jump the gun when I'm going to have the whole week to lay out my platform, to bring up all the contradictions that people are trying to place on her, I'll lay out my platform. I'll bring up my people. We'll wear this thing out. And now I'm ready to do any kind of interview you want. She's rolling out the economic policy today, I think is the word. And they're going to come out with some economic stuff. I'm not running your race. I'm running my race. So you just sit tight.
Yeah, exactly. It's, folks, and let me remind everybody, those watching at home or watching it at another time, you're welcome to comment and join us in the conversation. If we see your comment live, we'll join it. We'll add that into the conversation. So please join us in this. We'd love to hear your thoughts on all this. Anytime we say media, any mainstream media anymore, I get disgusted, because it's become a game of, no, I'm not. What are you? Yeah, right. It's the back and the forth, and we're just reporting on what other people have said, whether it's truth or not. I don't see any journalism going on in what everybody calls the mainstream media anymore. I see a little bit here and there. We get a breaking story here and there, but the 24-hour news cycle has created a voracious monster that requires feeding on a moment-by-moment basis, and all that we have to give it is the same old bullshit. It seems. Oh, she didn't do this. Oh, he didn't do that. And that's part of why we do what we do around here, reporting on the good news on Friday night, having these conversations on Friday morning. I'm really excited and I'm not even a senior, and I'm not even on Medicare. Well, maybe I'm a senior, but I'm not on Medicare. I'm really excited that we are now in a position where Medicare legally can negotiate with drug companies on prices. I saw Mark Cuban on Mark Cuban was on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart this past week. I think.
Oh, was he?
And he did, and his work in Cost Plus Drugs and costplusdrugs.com is really changing the game. And Cuban was very clear. He's not here to go into this world or that world. Yeah, he owns the Dallas Mavericks, all that, blah, blah. He's a shark on the Shark Tank, blah, blah, blah. But he has settled into the realization that his work is to help fix the healthcare system in this country. And Cost Plus Drugs didn't have the legal restrictions on how it negotiated prices, and so it was able to negotiate prices. I think it's a travesty. The government was locked into these price, and the Republicans want to call it price fixing. It's like, no, price fixing was not allowing for negotiation. Negotiation, by its very definition, means that you can't fix the price. And I think I want to see people celebrating that, but we're getting lost in the first grade name calling and the politics of personality. Does it really make a difference in the world what someone's laugh is like?
They had that movie, The Truman Show, I think it was, with Jim Carrey.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, just in case.
And life has become that. It's become the Truman Show. And I don't know what they put in people's coffee and morning smoothie or what. But the idea of critical thinking has left the building.
Yeah.
There is no more critical thinking going on. It's all about entertainment, presentation, controversy, some talking points that we can, poke fun at and make jokes and make memes. And it seems to be the majority of a society is trapped in that storyline, where there's another group of people that are serious about this thing, and they're going to work. And we're going to wake up one day, if we're not careful, and we almost did it before, we're going to wake up in a place that we do not recognize at all. And it will be too late to counteract it. It'll be too late to make sustaining adjustments. And then you really are going to have to, I don't know what we have to do at that point. But right now we have the opportunity to stop it. Right. I mean, now you begin to see this contrast right on the reporting where they say Kamala Harris and Walz are trying to present policies and programs, whereas Trump and Vance are name calling, talking about a laugh, talking about she just decided she was black. All manner of craziness, right? And if the people go out there and say, I'm going to vote for a person to lead this country that has devolved to first and second grade behavior, and you said it best earlier, Robert, when you said it's turning into a campaign of policy versus personality. Democrats are trying to put forth policy, it seems, and the Republicans are dealing with personality.
Yep. Trump came out yesterday after Harris and Biden spoke yesterday, and that was the first time they've been on stage since this whole switch of candidates, and together at least, since the switch of candidates, they laid out this negotiation for drug pricing, and Trump's response was, I did the insulin thing. I was the one that made that insulin thing happen. Dude, no, you didn't. First of all, we know you didn't, because it didn't happen when you were in office. So, okay, if you want to say maybe you started that, okay, that's fair. Maybe you did start those conversations. But immediately after that, an article was published by a big pharma think tank that says, well, neither of them did it. We did it. And big pharma's trying to take credit for a price cap on insulin. Well, come on. Nobody trusts big pharma. Does anybody trust big pharma? They've proven they're unworthy of trust. Unfortunately, well, no, I don't want to say unfortunately. For me, it's been a long time since I trusted Donald Trump, anything that came out of Donald Trump's mouth. So Harris and Biden stand there and talk policy and talk a big win for the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Talk about a big win for the people. Trump's response is, no, I did that. That was mine. You're lying. It's mine. I get credit for that. And then the corporations say, yeah, well, we're just pulling the strings on both of them, and they're both puppets, and it was our win. Don't listen. So we talk a lot about living in a post-truth world. I want to start considering, how do we get back to a truth-based world?
Yeah.
I want to start looking at how do we heal come November 6th. I want to consider what happens on January 6th of next year, or whatever day that turns out to be, right? I don't know if that's a set day or a set day of the month or whatever it is, but how do we go about gently creating a healing once this election is over?
Right.
Well, a lot of people are going to be upset, and a lot of people are going to believe the con, and a lot of people are going to accuse the Democrats of stealing the election again, and we get another 4 years of the same cycle.
one thing that I think is that we have to figure out if we have to change the name, and I'm giving a little lead into this or whatever, right? But this idea of DEIB, this idea of diversity, equity, including and belonging, people are tearing it down now, but that has to become front and center. We have to begin to look at this country and in succession this globe as one entity, right? And if we don't start working in that way, we will continue to manifest situations for the cancers, because that's what happens with the body. The body starts fighting against itself in cancer. We will begin to do that in our own countries, right? I mean, off subject, but on subject. Now, I'm just looking at all this controversy with Jordan Childs and the bronze medal in the Olympics.
Right.
They did the thing. They filed the report. They said, "Oh yeah, we didn't take this extra difficult thing and give points for that. Now we give the points." And now they're coming back and say it was 4 seconds too late. Are you freaking kidding me? And now they say they've given them the evidence from a film to say, no, it wasn't too late, but they have still gone and given the Polish girl the medal. And then it came out that the lawyers representing her have also been representing Poland or some faction over there. And it's like all this nepotism I get it. I'm not mad at anybody for wanting their child to do well, and if I can help, fine. But when it gets to the point to where there's no equity in it, when it gets to the point to where there's no inclusion of things that should definitely be included, we're moving in the wrong direction. And that's happening not only in politics, because that's taking the front stage, it's going in every phase of our life. And if we can't stop this and fix it, it's going to be a challenge regardless to who wins this election.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, I agree. It's I didn't pay. It's interesting. I was on the road for most of the Olympics,
right?
So I didn't pay a huge amount of attention, and we didn't have time, and we didn't have the occasion to hash out some of these things. I'm sure we could have had a great conversation around women's boxing, and all of that crap, if you will.
Yes.
But I would love to see the Olympics institute some sort of sharing, somewhere that says, look, it was too close to call, so we're making an extra gold medal, and you're going to share the gold. And it'll be a little asterisk in the history books. But one of the things I learned, because I'm not in that field, is that the one race, one of the track and field events was won by an American, I believe, by like 5/1 millionths of a second or something, right? But part of what I learned is that, and I guess this has been going on for a while, they don't use a starter's gun anymore, because it actually takes 7/1 millionths of a second for the sound to travel from the gun to the far lane, which means if you're in the far lane, you're starting with a 7/1 millionths of a second disadvantage. So every runner has a speaker behind their blocks,
right?
So that they can all hear the sound so there can be no argument about that. Okay, to me, that's working towards a more equitable system, and I like that. And I would love to see a way where we could share medals, whether it's a bronze or a gold or a silver, a way to say, hey, these two athletes are indistinguishable in their performance in one way or another.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say it publicly right here, right now, that I'm in the very, very, very beginning stages of writing this book on the diversity, if you will, in my family. when
Okay.
when I look at when when I look at my diverse roots, that will take some, I'll put it this way. I have a great uncle. I have two great uncles that were part of the Confederate Army. Um, and when we really look at this, there's some definite tragedies that happen in the history of this country between blacks and whites and yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, right now, I have to reconcile that, right? Or I could go off the rails and just be totally unaffected because I'm focusing on something uh, that's not going to necessarily help me right now in the situation where they're finna raise the property taxes or they're finna raise taxes to help the schools. So at some point, we have to begin as a country to reconcile these differences, to reconcile these issues. And there may be some give and take that has to take place, right? I mean, there may be some money that needs to change place. There may be some allowances that need to take place. But when you look at it, it's a challenge because that stuff is not going away. No matter
Right.
how much I wish it wouldn't have happened, it happened and it's done. And it
Yep.
was horrible, but I still got to live. And so we have to, as a country, we have to begin to fix that.
Yes. 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 And yes. Um, I wanna chat with Linda here for a minute because she's sharing a couple of things. Just as all is one, all of this country is one, and the word inclusion implies separateness first. Absolutely, Linda. Agree with you 100%. And it pains me that we have to talk about the need to include. However, there is a large number of people in this country that don't understand that haven't gotten the
Right.
memo, or got the memo and didn't read it, or got the memo, read it, and thought, oh well, that's bullshit, and threw it away. I can't. I have countless people that I don't communicate with currently, because they're just not willing to consider what we as new thoughters see as that ultimate truth, that it is all one.
Right.
They have been brainwashed and taught, and they believe fully that no, we're separate. That as Americans, we're better. As white people, we're better. As Republicans, we're better. And that we're going to make, and God, my tongue gets tied just thinking of saying it, but they want to make America great again. I want to make America kind again.
We look at the human body, and some of you probably heard me say this a gazillion times, and I'm going to keep saying because I think it's one of the best examples of what wholeness and inclusion looks like. That is your body. Your body is made up of countless systems: respiratory, circulatory, elimination. I could go on and on. They all stand independently, but they must work together. And if they don't work together, guess what happens? You check out of here. You're gone.
Yep.
And so that should be the clearest example of what it means to step into a place of wholeness, of unity. That's why, like right now, they have these, you may have heard it on the health scene about these blue zones, right? These environments where they have these centennial, right? People who are living to 100 years old, comfortably, still functioning mentally and physically. When you look at what they say, one is the food, one is the communal action that people have, and the third is staying active in a positive way. And that's exactly what happens to your body. If you give your body good food, if you have good communication with people and you have some banter, you don't destroy nobody, but you have banter so you keep your mind sharp, and then you be active, it helps. The same thing happens as above, so below. As below, so above. There is this whole correspondence that happens at every level of existence.
Yeah.
Why we can't figure that out, I don't know, but we better do it soon.
I'm with you. I think we better do it soon. As you were sharing, I got this image of you know about the Villages down in Florida, right? Massive condo community. It's a massive condo community called the Villages, and it's all for retirees, and you're not allowed to be there if you're not over 65, I think, and you retirees, and they all drive golf carts and all this, and it's a notoriously conservative red zone, let's call it.
Okay.
And even that community has had, and I saw an article a few weeks back, they were having rallies for Harris, and in their golf carts, and they were having golf cart parades for Harris and rally, where instead of showing up and tailgating, they show up in their golf carts, because nobody owns cars in this community. You don't need them, and they'd be in the way. So everybody drives golf carts. And it got me thinking that perhaps the time is now to start developing a type of community for those that think that are for the more progressives. Not just politically,
right,
but the more progressive socially, and the more progressives spiritually, to be able to share these ideas, but also be able to share the experience of a life well lived. A village is for our folk, as it were. But more and more and more, I'm hearing. And I want to turn this towards new thought for a little bit, if we can. More and more, as I get out in the world and talk to diverse leaders of this spiritual movement, there is a movement towards more of that belonging piece. And just the fact that the right uses DEI as a detractor, right? So you were a DEI hire, Z. Sorry to tell you that, but if I look at the demographics of your company and I want to attack your company or attack you, I'm going to claim that you were a DEI hire, and that somehow makes you less than, or makes you unworthy, or makes your company wrong. And just the fact that they're arguing so much against the concept of diversity, equity, inclusion leads me to recognize how important are honoring, celebrating, and embracing our diversity, our
yes,
equity, our inclusion, and fostering that sense of belonging is more important than ever before. And the more they want to cut DEI programs, the more I want to go work with another company or support financially a different company. Because if you can't see the necessity of celebrating our oneness and fostering a sense of belonging, you're out of it. You're off touch. You're out. Right. You're out. Sorry.
Right. And I was at a conference this past week, and had three powerful keynote speakers. One was Raphael Bostic, African American's president and CEO of the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank. Dawn Staley was there as one of the keynote speakers. She goes without saying. She's done everything in basketball, from coach Olympic winning team to winning them herself, to two championships in South Carolina. And then Donna Brazile, who was the first Black person to run a presidential campaign for Al Gore, and was head of the DNC. And one of the prevailing things that struck me and you just brought it up, this whole idea of belonging. Each one of these individuals are brilliant. They're great tacticians. They're great strategists. They're great team builders, right? What happens when you have someone who has that capability and has those talents? Even if you bring them into the fold, but you don't give them a sense of belonging, you're missing out on all that talent. If you bring them in and say, yeah, we got this person, but they sit over in the corner and you don't utilize them, you don't allow them to bring their perspective into the game, now we got a problem. And that's what we have to get beyond. Everybody has a unique perspective and view on things and can provide some solace, if you will, to resolve some of these problems. But we have to begin to recognize everybody as a whole, complete, active, contributing individual, no matter what they contribute. You know, one quick thing, we saw Snoop Dogg all over the place in the Olympics. You also saw a lot of Flavor Flav, right? Now, you didn't see as much of Flav as you did for Snoop Dogg, but Flav, he helped sponsor the women's water polo, and he did some other things. But as a result of that, I saw an article says, what happened to the hype man, right? Because Flav was a hype man for Public Enemy. And we need people now on your team. That's all they do. They're just the hype person. But that energy that they bring to the table to hype you up, to get you ready, causes you to be the best that you can be. And so when you start discounting people who may be the hype person because you don't think they're giving anything, we miss out. And we can apply that across the board.
Yep. No, I loved it. I saw one that said 2020. So what was it? Would have been 2020. Sha'Carri Richards eliminated for use of marijuana, and 2024, the most public dope smoker in the world is leading the parade for the whole week. And I saw a pin that Snoop Dogg blowing smoke rings that are the Olympic rings, right? So he's blowing Olympic smoke on a pin. I'm like, oh, I want that pin, right? Because whoever in Paris thought to bring Snoop in as a hype man had a friggin' amazing, right? Did an amazing job and deserves a raise, because it showed, for me, it shows that piece of, look, we belong here. If you smoke pot, you still belong. You shouldn't be ostracized just for that. If you do other things in life that I don't agree with, it doesn't mean you don't belong here. It might mean that you could use some help. I'm thinking of our homeless population right now and our homeless issue of the unhoused in this country, that very few people want to be there. Most people have been forced there because of some sort of being told they don't belong. You don't belong here because somehow you've got addicted to a substance. Come on, folks. How many people in this country have not been addicted to something at some time? From alcohol to ketamine, to coffee, to sex, to shopping, to marijuana, to whatever we want to call it. We all have those addictions in one way or another. And that doesn't mean we don't belong. But far too often we want to tell people they don't belong. And that, wow, may just be the root of all evil in this country, may just be the root of all our concerns, is this sense of I am superior and you don't belong. You don't belong here. You don't belong here. You can't be here.
You think about it, right? I like comedy. I actually love comedy. And old comedy used to be about storytelling. If you look back at some of the older comedians, whether you go to Richard Pryor or whether you go to George Carlin, or or some of those people in that vein, their stick, if you will, was being able to look at life, synthesize it, put it in a story format, and make the point and get you to laugh. Now it seems to me comedy has devolved into a name calling, finding fault with people, looking at those kinds of things, and trying to get laughter out of that. But at the same time, it begins to destroy, I believe, the decency of looking at a person and not trying to tear them down, not trying to find them faults. Because as you were just saying, we can find, the biblical statement, he who is or she who is without sin, please cast the first stone. Right?
Yes.
and so this idea of tearing somebody apart as opposed to looking at where they might need help and trying to build them up has just evaporated, and people are now trying to just take everybody down so that they can get on the pedestal, and pretty soon somebody's coming to get you. So why not let's create a better environment? Let's create a more holistic, inclusive, diverse, and belonging environment, which our current political system, as we will see when this Democratic convention comes up, not because it's all, but we'll be able to do a contrast between the Republican convention and the Democratic convention and begin to see what the differences are in these policies, what the difference are in these approaches to governing. And it should be a clear choice, I think, for people to choose between.
I trust.
But that's just me.
No, I don't think it's just you. I'm in on that too. And I think a lot of other people are. I think it is going to be very, very interesting what happens over the next 90 plus days. And before we go much further, I do want to remind folks that we are in the midst of something that is turning out to be incredibly powerful. Our dear friend Linda spoke about it. I have taken care of my attitude and perspective first. The 100 Days of New Thought application has been a great tool, 3 minutes each morning with a new thought centering related to the elections. If you're new to the conversation and are wondering what our dear friend Linda is talking about, it's this. 100 Days of Mindfulness Practice. It began on July 28th. It's running through November 4th, the day before the election day. And if you're interested and aren't signed up, well, tomorrow is my first day of sharing. So I get a few opportunities in these 100 days to be with these amazing leaders and to share my perspective. I invite you to make sure that you're part of this. You can tune in by texting JOIN to 470-784-0250. You'll get a phone call every morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. That's no more than 3 minutes because the system shuts off at 3 minutes. So if anybody on there gets long-winded, you don't hear everything they had to say. Or you can go to the website myelectionintention.com and listen to all the past messages, all the messages you've missed so far that have already been shared. And I tell you, I agree with Linda. I think it is a great program because it is providing a consistent perspective for all those that want to hear it. And I think this is part of the answer. I think this is part of, and not just here for the election. New Thought Media Network, we're working on a program to bring you 30 days of intentional video content that leading into the election. And few years back, we did 100 days prior to the transfer to January 20th. So I did look it up. The transfer of power as it is will happen on January 20th, 2025 again. And I'm going to make the announcement right here. As New Thought Media Network, we're going to find a way to share in another group collective consciousness raising type program from leading from the election until the day of transfer, and finding new and innovative ways, I think, for all of us in our own practices and in our collective practice to raise up a consciousness of belonging, to raise up a consciousness of oneness, and not making the other side wrong. I do it. I've done it to people. I do it more than I would like. And I'm working to find a way to say, hey, can we have a conversation about that, rather than just saying, no, your guy's bad, and that's all there is to it.
Yes. We have to begin to have dialogue, right? A lot of schools now, I think, are more than used to be. I think are moving to what has been termed the Socratic method, right? Yeah. Which was popularized by the Greeks, right? Of being able to have dialogue, to be able to critically put forth an idea and defend it, and let that information stand on its own. And now we begin to dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
Name calling and all of this kind of behavior does not solve problems. It may get a laugh. It may, give you a meme or some little video clip to put on your social media, but it does not solve problems. It does not make life better for the populace, right? And if we want to live in a place that is just, working on all cylinders, as they say, we have to work together. If you got a 6-cylinder car and 2 of those cylinders ain't working, you'll have trouble getting on the highway, right? You're not going to pick up the right RPMs to get on that highway. And right now the highway is moving at light speed. You're going to be in trouble.
There's our theme. All right, folks, we got to get out of here, but we want you to be out there firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
We need everybody to raise up and lend their consciousness to this idea of belonging, and to a peaceful, equitable, fair election, and a peaceful transfer of power in January. We're not done when it comes to the election. There's still work to do beyond that, and so we got a couple 100 days ahead of us, and in that regard, and I'm going to invite everybody to be part of the peace, part of the solution, part of what we want to see in the world. This is how we create a world that works for all.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So that is it for today, folks. Please stay with us throughout the day. We've got a full day of broadcasting. I'll be back at 5 with the good news. Reverend Michael will be here with the fireside chat at 6. Earlier in the day, you'll see Rev Barbara Jean with the Joy Show at 1 o'clock, and all of our normal morning programming is here as well. I'm Dr. Robert. On behalf of myself and my friend and dear great friend, Rev Elzia Sekou here, we're going to say thank you. Wish you a great day. Until next time, peace and blessings.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.